Okay, guys, so over the last 7 days, I've been doing gig apps full time. I've been doing DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats, and Instacart. And the reason I've been doing it to see if it's actually worth it and just to see what it's like. I'm running all 4 apps at the same time every single day. I'm not doing this because I think gig work is my future. I'm mainly doing this because I'm in a transition phase of my life right now. I'm trying to focus more on YouTube and focus more on my business. And gig work gives me the flexibility to work on all these things while also working on a business and making YouTube videos. So in this video, I'm going to be completely honest with what worked, what didn't work, what apps I like the best, what apps I don't like as much. And like I said, and we're just going to go off my personal opinion. It all depends on location. Your location matters the most when doing these gig apps. You know, I live in an area that's not super populated, so I have a lower population, so I'm going to have different results than people that may live in big metropolitan cities. All right, let's start with DoorDash. DoorDash is probably the most consistent app I use. I probably use DoorDash more than any of the other 4. DoorDash really is the most consistent for me in my area. Seems like whenever I turn it on, you know, I usually tend to get orders pretty consistently. Now, to be honest, some of them are pretty bad. You know, they'll have you driving, you know, about, I don't know, 6-7 miles to make like $2 or $3. And I'll just decline that because there's zero chance I'm going to be taking that, especially because I got a big truck. You know, I got to be really cautious on the orders that I take because I don't want to be wasting all my gas, and that's just a big waste of money and time for me. Some days on DoorDash, it's super easy. It goes by amazing. You're getting $12, $15 orders. They're not that far. You're driving like 2 miles for $12. Like, those are the good days. But other days, like today, I will be honest, today was a real grind. You know, you're getting like terrible orders. You're getting like $7 orders to drive like 15 miles. And that's really all you're getting, especially in low population areas. That's all you really get sometimes, is because there's not really many people ordering on DoorDash. So that's just one of the pros of it is, you know, it's consistent, but the cons is, you know, sometimes people just aren't ordering, and sometimes it's slow, and you're not going to make any money if it's slow. So second, we got Uber Eats. Uber Eats is honestly, you know, it depends on the day. Some days Uber Eats is cooking. They'll give you orders that are like, sometimes they'll give you an order that's going to take you an hour. It's like, but it's going to give you $50. You know, $50 in an hour is amazing. But if it's not giving you one of those banger orders where, you know, you got to drive forever and it gives you $50, it's most of the time giving you pretty terrible orders. Most of the time the orders are like $3 to drive 7 miles. And it's like, dude, that's just a complete waste of my time. The only way I'm taking that is if there's nothing else. I mean, nothing else. But it's in second place for me. I'll put it at second. Not first, because DoorDash, I got number 1. And then Uber Eats. And the last one, I like the pure like food delivery. I'm just going to put Grubhub last. I'm pretty sure Grubhub has the lowest amount of users out of DoorDash and Uber Eats. So I mean, that's just why I'm going to put that last. You get the least amount of orders on there, and honestly, it's just super slow. I mean, sometimes they give you missions on there. I got a mission where it was like complete 5 deliveries and it gives you $100. And in that case, it's like I'm going to leave that app on all day until I get 5 deliveries just so I can get that $100 because, you know, duh. But most of the time it's not giving that. I think the reason it gave me that was because it was my first time using that app. So that's not really anything special on there. But I'll use Grubhub if Uber Eats and DoorDash is just not giving me anything good. Grubhub is the last resort. So the last one we're going to talk about is Instacart. Okay, Instacart is either all the way like great or it's horrible. sometimes you can get an Instacart order. You're going in there, you got to pick up 20 items, drive 5 miles, and you're getting like $40, $50 out of that. In that case, Instacart is the bomb.com, okay? I would take an Instacart order over mostly any other orders, solely for the reason you usually don't have to drive as much when you're doing Instacart and stuff, because you're usually making more money, and instead of driving around, you're walking around a grocery store. Sometimes it can be a little annoying walking around the grocery store, and you can't find certain things, and sometimes that does get really annoying. But honestly, if you're in like a bigger area where there's a lot of grocery stores and you got a big population, I think Instacart, and I don't have Spark, I'm trying to get approved on Spark as well, but if you have those apps, I would probably suggest doing those over the regular food delivery, just because I think it's personally better. I personally think it's better, but it's all subjective. But I would suggest, just for me personally, with the experience I've had, the title says 7 days, but I've really been doing this for about 2 or 3 weeks, running all 4 at the same time. Okay, I run all 4 at the same time, and I just go through the orders. Now, my acceptance rate absolutely horrible. It depends on your market. Some markets, your acceptance rate really matters, but others it don't. Like if there's a lot of orders, they're going to push you good orders regardless, But if you're in a market where there's not a lot of orders, and you might want to get your acceptance rate up so you can get into the higher tiers, which will, give you higher priority for those higher paying orders. But pretty much to wrap this up, I would suggest going with Instacart if you have the choice. Go with Instacart, Spark, one of those two, because it's so much better on your vehicle. You're not driving as much. Unless you hate grocery shopping. If you hate shopping and walking around stores, do not do Instacart or Spark. But in general, those two are number one. Number two, gotta do DoorDash. I'm pretty sure DoorDash holds up like 67% of the food delivery market, so gotta do that. And then Uber Eats is second, and then Grubhub coming in last. I don't really like I'm not interested in driving people around and stuff. Maybe if we get a lot of likes on this video, I will experiment with driving people around, just because you guys want to see it, just to get out my comfort zone. But I like to just be driving by myself, riding solo. Like, that's my vibe, I like riding solo, turning on the Spotify, listening to a podcast or something, and just picking up food and dropping it off. But, like, to wrap it up, like I said, Instacart, DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub. Run them all 4 at the same time. That's my suggestion. And just to wrap up everything, the main reason I'm doing gig work right now is because at the end of the day, gig work isn't my dream job. It might be some people's dream job. It's not mine personally. But since I quit my last job, I'm really trying to focus on my dreams. Let's just put it that way. I have dreams. I've always wanted to be a YouTuber. I've always wanted to try to start a business. I've always wanted to try not to do the traditional route. So I'm going to try my best to not go down that traditional route, and gig apps like the ones we just talked about in this video are going to give me the ability to create my own schedule and work how I need to. I don't have everything figured out yet, but I'm learning as I go, and gig apps just give me the flexibility, and that's all I can really ask for right now in this point in my life. Hope you guys enjoyed. See y'all next Friday.